You guys wanna know a secret? I've been wearing headbands every week because of postpartum hair loss and regrowth. So you have crazy hormones when you're pregnant that make you not lose hair, and then when you're postpartum you lose all of that hair, and then you look almost bald, and then it grows back. And because I have crazy curly hair, there's no way of making this look good without wearing a headband. I just look like I got out of bed just now, every day, unless I'm wearing one of these. So, secret's out. All right, first coffee. Everyone grab your coffee with me because this is a good chapter. All right, besties, welcome here again. It's Karissa, and we are going to be getting into chapter 7 today of Darlene Shack's book on the book of Esther. Again, this is available at Amazon.com if you want to purchase it. If you cannot afford to purchase it, it's still available at Darlene's website. If you go to timewarpwife.com, you can get all of her Bible studies there for free if you become a subscriber. So enjoy that along with her blog, which is on there. And I really enjoy her blog actually. So go and check that out. Chapter 7. This is that moment where she finally gets to share her heart with the king. She shares Haman's plot and where everything is going. I'm going to pick up here on page 56 where Darlene says, "We all have moments like this, perhaps not to the extent that Esther did, but we too have days where we are given a choice to remain silent or to courageously stand up against injustice." And as soon as she says that, does a memory come to mind where you either did or did not stand up for injustice or stand up for the truth even? I feel like for me, I instantly there's like a, yes, I know there have definitely been opportunities for me to either stand up and say what's right, to go with the crowd and not really say anything, or to just agree. And those moments are challenging. They're challenging for me. They're challenging for all of us, but I think that they are very important moments. And sometimes when we have had an opportunity, let's say to stand up for a person, okay, I'm so sorry about the fly. I cannot kill it. This fly is a ninja. So if it's super distracting to you guys, I sincerely apologize. As I was saying, when there's moments where we have had the opportunity, let's say, to stand up for a person and we decided not to, or we were in fear, we just walked away. You heard me say that, didn't you? Oh my goodness. Anyways, what was I even talking about? This is terrible. We've all had opportunities to be able to stand up for somebody, and sometimes when we fail to do that, we write ourselves off, and then when that next opportunity comes, we just walk away again because we feel like we just aren't brave enough. And I think those moments when we fail and we feel that guilt, it's actually meant to help us be motivated to do the right thing next time. And often God will give us opportunities to try again. And I just want to challenge you, pray for that opportunity, and pray for an opportunity to stand up for a person or to stand up for the truth and to be a light in this world. And He will answer that prayer. And then He will give you the courage to be faithful. Not that you won't feel fear. You might feel fear, but He is the one that gives us the words to say and the courage. And so although be prepared. The Bible also says we need to have a reason for our faith, but it's really, really good to be able to be prepared to stand up for the next person you might see that is being mistreated. And I just wanted to put that little challenge out there. Okay, Esther's love for her people surpasses her fears. Did we not just mention that a while ago? How love is like the motivator that makes us go beyond the things that we're afraid of. She speaks with grace and tact, revealing her Jewish identity and indicating Haman as the enemy plotting against her people. As Esther speaks up on behalf of the Jews, she embodies the essence of Proverbs 31:8, which calls us to speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. In this pivotal moment, Esther becomes a champion for the silenced, advocating for justice. Her fearless intervention serves as a timeless example of using our voices to fight for what is right. And that proverb reminded me of another one. I'm going to actually read it in the NLT version just because I feel like it says it in such a straightforward, convicting way. Proverbs 24. All right. 11 to 12. Rescue those who are unjustly sentenced to die. Save them as they stagger to their death. Do not excuse yourself, saying, look, we didn't know. For God understands all hearts. He sees you. He who guards your souls knows you knew, and he will repay all people as their actions deserve. Is that not a sobering verse? Do not excuse yourself, saying, look, we didn't know, for God understands all hearts, and he sees you. He who guards your soul knows you knew. He will repay all people as their actions deserve. And I love here that it's not just, some people think that sin is just something bad that you do intentionally. And I really think sin is also the lack of doing what is right. And when we know that we're meant to stand up for somebody and we don't do it, that is also wrong. That is also sin. And so a very, very convicting but motivating verse at the same time, because I want my heart to align with Jesus' heart. I want my heart to break for the things that break his heart. And if your heart doesn't, pray and ask him, please help my heart to break for the things that break your heart, and the things that make you feel angry. Help me to feel angry for those things. Help me to love the things that you love and hate the things that you hate. And yeah. Sorry, I'm getting distracted. Keep reading more of those verses. Okay, so I was trying to think of examples where we can do this now in our culture, having opportunities to stand up for people or for the truth, or even just to serve people and be a light to people. Maybe find opportunities to share the gospel in our day-to-day lives. And so I thought I would mention a couple of ideas, because sometimes it's hard. Like, the idea seems nice, but it's like seems distant and abstract compared to our day-to-day living. And so here's a few things that I thought of. Standing up for coworkers. I've had the opportunity to do this in multiple ways, either standing up for a coworker against somebody who's accusing them, even if it's like another coworker, or in the opportunities when that person isn't in the room, but people are talking bad about my other coworker and refusing to gossip with them, but also maybe calling them out. And it might be super uncomfortable, but taking that opportunity to stand up for that person and facing that discomfort. And you might be the next person that they talk about, and that doesn't matter. It will not affect your day-to-day life at all unless you allow it to. So there's my 2 cents for that. Food banks and shelters. Oh my goodness, this is something that I never did growing up, but as soon as I started dating my husband, they introduced a new tradition into my life. So every Christmas day from like 9:30 till 2 or 3, they spend at a food shelter for the homeless, serving Christmas dinner and handing out presents to homeless people. And it is the most amazing way to spend Christmas Day. I would never want to spend it any other way now. But it's so interesting, and it just inspired me that they were willing to give away this day that so many families just hold so tightly to and are so entitled to it being exactly what they want and enjoying it in a very specific traditional way, in a selfish maybe way to just get presents and eat treats and be with their family in their home. And here my parents were sharing their love and sharing their family with people that didn't have that on that day. And I really hope that my children can also grow up in that tradition, because it just is beautiful. Adopting or fostering children. I have friends that foster children, and if you foster children or have in the past, like, thank you, because that is such a beautiful service to children. And yeah, if I keep talking about it, I'm just gonna cry. So moving on. Adopting, like actual adoption, but also just like taking people under your wing. Like, my grandparents are good at this for years now, like over 10 years. We've had another family that joins us every Christmas for our gathering, and I actually have no idea why, but they need family and we're here and we can share ours with them. And it can be so easy to want to keep what we have that's good to ourselves, but the blessing of sharing that with somebody that doesn't have family or hasn't been able to experience healthy family, and I don't even know the reason why this family comes, but it's definitely a privilege for us and privilege for me to get to know their kids and their family, and we just enjoy having them so much. And it's been also special for me to watch my grandparents adopt and take in this family that is now part of ours, and it's very special. So that's another way. Standing up for children, for the vulnerable, teaching our children to reach out to other children, like teaching your kids to look for the person that is alone, look for the person that is maybe being teased or the outcast, and get past the awkwardness of maybe even a language barrier or the differences in culture, and like making friendships, and teaching our children to actually seek out those kids, because it's so easy to not want to do that as a child, but if they can learn to do it as a child, as an adult, it'll be even easier for them. And children need friends, and And even my dad was somebody that inspired me in this way. So he runs a business and sets aside a few positions every year for men that are recovering in Teen Challenge, and he gives them the opportunity to work for him, and that's always been an inspiration to me. So there's just a couple of ideas that are out there, and if you are looking for opportunities and praying for opportunities, God might just bring them into your life day to day, but also seek them out like this. Like, try and find those opportunities to either just love people, stand up for people, and share the gospel with them. You never know how. Okay, I'm just going to share this one story. I used to lead cell with a lady named Olivia, and she's just, she was always looking for opportunities to share the gospel with people and praying that God would bring somebody into her life. And she was doing that, and then she went into a 7-Eleven, and there was a girl that worked there, and she said to her, "Hi, I think I recognize you from a church service I went to a while ago. You were baptizing someone." And she said, "Oh yeah, like my husband's a pastor at this church." And this girl just said, "I've always wanted to know about Jesus and God, but nobody's ever told me." Like, what a beautiful opportunity. And Olivia, took that girl under her wing and ministered to her for a long time, and definitely made an impact in her life. So just goes to show, if you pray for those opportunities, you never know. She was in 7-Eleven buying a hot dog, so you never know when those opportunities will come your way. Page 67 here, it says, "The Bible warns us, whoever digs a hole and scoops it out falls into the pit that they have made. The trouble that they cause recoils on them. Their violence comes down on their own heads." And I was trying so hard to think of an opportunity from my life, from a moment in my life where this has happened to me. And for some reason, the only one I can think of, I'm sure that there's more. The only one I can think of is when I was a kid. I think it was like my 13th birthday or something like that was coming up, and I had been at church on Sunday, and I had shared with this girl at church, "Hey, my birthday is next weekend, I'm really excited." And then she just said, "Oh, are you having a party?" And I hadn't invited her to my birthday party, but I was having one, and I quickly said, "Oh, no, I'm not having a party." And then realized that my birthday party was a sleepover from Saturday to Sunday, and I was bringing my, 4 friends with me to church that Sunday, and she was gonna see them, and I would have to tell her, yes, they're here because I had a birthday party, and she's gonna know because I told her it's gonna be my birthday on Saturday. Oh, I could not enjoy my birthday party. I felt sick to my stomach, literally had a pit in my stomach. And then we got to church the next day, and she was like, "Oh, so are these your friends? Like, did you have them over for a sleepover?" Or I was like, "Yeah." And she was like, "Oh, for your birthday?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm sorry I lied to you. I did not want you to feel hurt and left out, but now I can see, like, you probably feel even more hurt." And it was a sad moment. It was a very sad moment. And I mean, going back, I could have just invited her. I don't know if there was like a reason, like we had to have a certain amount because my parents could only drive a certain number of kids in the van or whatever it was, but for some reason I hadn't invited her, and oh man. But I'll never forget that lie found me out, and that taught me a lesson. Like, I was like so convicted and felt so much guilt and heaviness from that lie that I learned pretty quick that my lies will find me out. And that's probably laughing at my example, but that's the only one that came to mind. These words are a vivid reminder that when we engage in harmful or destructive behavior, we face the consequences of our actions. These verses do not stand alone. They align beautifully with the divine justice found in the story of Esther, painting a portrait of God as not only a just judge, but also a loving father who yearns for the very best for us. He alerts us to the possible repercussions of our destructive behavior. inviting us to follow his light, for it is in the journey towards the light that we experience his guidance, protection, and unfailing love. It's true. It's in that journey towards walking in his truth, walking the way in submission to him, that we are actually able to experience his guidance and protection and unfailing grace. And it's so interesting. I remember as a teenager having a couple of friends that we were discussing Christianity, and they were frustrated with why they said, God, it just seems like such a killjoy. Like, why does he tell us not to do all the things that of course he knows we're going to want to do? Like, why does he make us want to do those things? Like, we were even talking just about the 10 Commandments, and I'm actually just going to find them here in my Bible if I can quickly. Exodus, right? I think Exodus? They'll be in Exodus somewhere, I'm sure. Oh, look at this, my Bible. That's beautiful. This is the 10 Commandments. I'm going to read them. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself an image in the form of anything in heaven above, or on the earth below, or in the waters. You shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God, for the Lord will not hold anyone guiltless who misuses his name. Remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. Honor your father and mother, so that you may live long in the land that the Lord your God is giving you. You shall not murder, you shall not commit adultery, you shall not steal. You shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. You shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet anything that belongs to your neighbor. And it's so interesting how we can look at these in two different ways. As a way of God alerting us to the possible repercussions of our destructive behavior, or we can look at it as a ball and chain. And I remember my friends complaining about this. I was shocked at their perspective. Like, there's so many different ways to look at it, but I said, there's so much grace in this. Like, don't you think he's just saying, like, I think your life is going to be better if you don't kill each other, if you're not going to steal, if you're not going to commit adultery, your marriage is going to be happier. You know, if you honor your parents, if you serve God first in your life with your whole heart, like if you don't lie, like your life is literally, like he's literally telling you how to live a blessed life, and you're angry about that. And I think sometimes you can see it so backwards. This is grace. This is his grace to us, telling us how we can live. If he didn't give us this word, if he didn't give us these instructions, we would be so lost. And I just feel so privileged as a Christian today. So many Christians don't have Bibles in their countries, and I just feel so blessed and privileged to be able to actually have this, so I know how God wants me to live. I don't have to just lean on my own understanding. I can trust in his ways and follow him, and that brings so much peace and so much hope to my life, knowing that I can learn the ways of the Lord and trust in him. Let's pause for a minute and take this lesson to heart. May we, like Esther, boldly stand up for what is right, using our voice and influence for God's purposes. Like, even think, like, the small influence that you do have, whether it's on social media, whether it's in your friend groups, whether it is at work, whether it's with your children, use that influence for God's purposes. And let's take comfort in the fact that God is our righteous judge and defender. Jesus did everything. He gave everything for us. And let's not thank him by being ashamed of the gospel. Let's not thank him by not being bold enough to stand up for the truth. And that is getting harder and harder and harder to do. But there are opportunities to stand up for truth. There are opportunities to stand up for the vulnerable today. And pray for courage, friends. Because it's not up to somebody else to do it. It's me. It's me. And it's you. And it is our job to stand up for the vulnerable, to serve and to love and to be a light in this dark world. And if your life does not look any different than the life of unbelievers around you, we need to ask some very, very serious questions of our faith. Because this faith that we have, if Jesus gave his whole life for us, if he bled and died on the cross for us, and he's our God and he's our King, we are we are to give our whole life to him. Now we are the ones that are called to pick up our cross, die to our flesh, and follow him daily. And it's not easy. It is not easy, but oh man, there is something so rich in it at the same time. As long as you have Christ, you have everything. And I know my heart still gets anxious, oh man, about my day-to-day needs and the things that I want and my desires, but knowing that I have him, no matter what, nothing can take that away from me. That definitely gives me the courage to not be afraid to stand up for what is true and to lose my reputation, to lose finances or whatever it could be for the sake of the gospel. That is what gives me courage, knowing that I have him. And his spirit is there to strengthen us when we are weak, because we cannot do this on our own. I am with you. I cannot do it on my own. But yeah, thank you guys so much for being here, and I hope that you really enjoyed this, and please feel free to share your comments and your thoughts, the things that stood out to you, the things that you learned, what was challenging, what areas you want to grow in learning from this chapter of the study. So until next week, I will see you again. Bye for now.